Good morning and welcome to Ellen White Speaks, where we share excerpts from the writings of author Ellen G. White. It is Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. Pastor Vince here. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you for joining me for another edition of Ellen White Speaks. We met yesterday and we're still in chapter 5 of the book, The Three Angels' Messages, God's Proclamation for the Last Days. We are still in chapter 5, the angel of Revelation 18. And when we started this chapter, I was reading portions of Revelation 18, verses 1 through 5 and verse 20. I'm not going to do so today, but I will say that we're focusing on that part of the passage that says, "Come out of her, my people. Come out of her, my people." So I'm going to share another excerpt today concerning "Come out of her, my people." And, we're just working our way through this book. This book is just full of so many powerful statements, quotes from Ellen G. White. You're going to want to pick up this book. Again, it's called The Three Angels' Messages, God's Proclamation for the Last Days by Ellen G. White. You will more than likely find it at your local Adventist Christian Book Center. Even if you're not a Seventh-day Adventist, you still may want to pick up this book. And the best place to pick it up from right now that I'm aware of is one of your Adventist Christian Book Centers. Just look for ACBC or Adventist Christian Book Center. Just look it up online. You can order online. You can, you can go in person and buy it, whatever, depending on where you live. Because I know there are not ACBCs in every city, in every state. For example, we have one here in it's right here, literally in Charlotte, North Carolina. And, but people outside of Charlotte may have to travel to Charlotte to this actual book center. As a matter of fact, I know a brother who lives somewhere in Virginia, and I guess they don't have an ACBC in his state or in his area. He has to drive all the way from Virginia to the book center right here in Charlotte, which I guess is the closest to him if he wanted to, to make purchases in person. But like I said, you can just look for Adventist Christian Book Center online. You can order online, no problem, and they'll get it to you. Again, this is called The Three Angels' Messages, God's Proclamation for the Last Days. As I said, we are in chapter 5. We're looking at the angel of Revelation 18. We're looking at the portion of the passage which says, "Come out of her, my people." So here's our quote for the day. Here's our excerpt for the day by Ellen White. This is coming from manuscript 63 from 1910. This particular excerpt is called "No Judgments Sent Without a Warning." No judgments sent without a warning. She says, "The God of heaven will not send his judgments until the people are warned. He calls his watchmen to give the warning in a distinct, decided manner. His ministers are to extend the message of warning. The watchman must give the trumpet a certain sound in messages of warning. He will not close up the period of probation until his watchmen give the warning in a distinct message proclaiming his law. This work must go forward in a distinct, magnified manner. The message of the third angel will be distinctly proclaimed, and the law of God will come to the people in a decided message." Once again, that's called "No Judgments Sent Without a Warning," and that's coming from manuscript 63, 1910. So, friend, there you have it. As Ellen White just says here, God will not send his judgments until the people are warned. There are many people like myself, and there are many people who came before me who were called by God to send messages of warning to the people. We know from the story of Noah, God spoke directly to Noah and basically said, I'm just going to paraphrase the conversation. God basically told Noah, "Hey, I'm sick of this wickedness going on in the world. These people need to turn from their evil ways. In 120 years, I will send destruction." And we know that destruction came by the flood, by water. But the point is, Noah preached to the people. He warned the people. God called him, if you will, to warn the people for a 120-year period that destruction was coming. They needed to turn from their wicked ways, etc. So God gave the warning through Noah, and we know the rest of the story. We know what happened. So the point here is that God will not send his judgments without warning. There are people like myself and others who have been called by God to give the warning. Let me just share this with you from the book of Isaiah, one of my favorite verses in the Bible, Isaiah 58, verse 1. It says, "Cry aloud, spare not, lift up your voice like a trumpet. Tell my people their transgression, and the house of Jacob their sins." So again, it just goes along with what I'm saying about giving this message, or these messages of warning, and those people that have been called by God to give these messages of warning. It's in his word. I just read it to you from Isaiah 58 and verse 1. Here's another quote I'm going to share with you from Ellen White from GC, which is Great Controversy 459. This is concerning Isaiah 58 verse 1 that I just read from the Bible. Giving the trumpet a certain sound. So I've just read for you from manuscript 63, 1910, about, the trumpet having a distinct sound. But here's something else from GC 459, giving the trumpet a certain sound. She says, to the servant of God at this time is the command addressed. Quote, "Lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgression, and the house of Jacob their sins." End quote. She's quoting Isaiah 58 verse 1. So far as his opportunities extend, everyone who has received the light of truth is under the same solemn and fearful responsibility as was the prophet of Israel. So friend, I'm going to say as well that even if you are not the preacher, the teacher, the prophet, or someone of that nature who has been called by God to give the warning, you could be anyone. If you are a believer in God's truth, you will share these messages of warning with your fellow believers. So my point is, you don't have to have the title, if you will, or the office, if you will, of preacher, teacher, evangelist, what have you. If you are just simply a believer in God's truth, you will share God's messages of warning with fellow believers so that we all will be saved in the kingdom. God will not have any of us to be lost. That is not part of his character. He is sending messages of warning to each and every one of us through many people so that we are ready when Jesus comes. I've said many times, if this is your first time ever hearing me say this on the podcast, I'll let you know right now that, as I said, God has many people to give messages of warning, and he will not have any of us to be lost. When Jesus comes, it'll be too late. When Jesus comes again, there won't be any time for do-overs, to try to make things right with God at that point. We need to get victory over sin. We need to have our lives transformed by the Holy Spirit now while there's still time. Friend, I can go on and on and on about that, but I just want to leave that with you this morning for this edition of Ellen White Speaks. So I pray that this message today was a blessing for you. I pray that it woke you up in some type of way. Maybe you were asleep before or whatever, but I pray that this message made an impression on you, and that you will continue to study with us here on the podcast. So by God's grace, please join me tomorrow for another edition of Ellen White Speaks. Have a great day.